Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a live streaming episode of Inside Tomorrow, the show which is here to uncover innovative technologies and trends that affect all our businesses. The show which is here to explain how certain technologies work and how companies can apply them in their strategies into new realities we're facing today, coming out of COVID-19 lockdown. My name is Yelena Ganshof, and I'm a producer and host of Inside Tomorrow and founder of Brand Boosting and Viva. And today we're going to speak about artificial intelligence, how AI solutions can help companies in this COVID 19 post COVID period transmit to normal way of business. A special guest who is joining us right now is Matteo Togninalli. He's the
Hello.
Chief Operating Officer of Visium. Matteo, welcome to Inside Tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Yelena, for having me.
Um, Matteo has joined the team of Visium. Visium actually is very well known in Switzerland, is a team of the best of class IT engineers that come up with the tailor-made AI solutions for companies, and you have come up with really amazing projects. Um, Before we're going to speak about all these great projects, Matteo, please tell us about yourself.
Yes?
Uh, Tell us probably about your childhood. At what age you started coding, or at what age you have realized that AI, computer science, is the thing that where you want to be, or maybe you just played video games nonstop.
I was playing a lot of video games as a kid for sure, but I've always been fascinated by learning things actually, and any type of topics really, from history to my lectures in literature, but also to more scientific topics. Everything was really interesting to me. But what was fascinating me the most was the process of learning, how one goes from acquiring knowledge from zero to something, right? And regarding coding, I've come close to it relatively late during my adolescence, and I wasn't too much into it until my university studies, during which I was just wandering around the library one summer. Remember, I didn't want to study for some of the exams I had, so I was just looking at the books there, and I just fell upon a book on artificial intelligence, and this was a massive book, a 500 pages book from the 90s. I just thought that the topic itself was really interesting. I had heard about it, but never really dwelled too much into it. And I opened it and started reading it, and actually read the entire thing. It was just too fascinating to be left out. So that's when I really decided to hop on the AI train in a certain sense.
Okay. Then at Visium, I know you've done some amazing projects. So tell us about more about those projects and maybe certain challenges that you are facing with AI.
Yeah, so we've done a multitude of projects, more than 30 projects in several different industries and for several different problems. Of course, it's challenging to pick a particular one, but I would say that one of the most exciting projects we've worked on was around sound data. So the problem is that when you try to monitor what's happening in a city, in a large city, it becomes very hard to dispatch police and uh, ambulances into scenes of crashes or wherever there's an accident happening. And this problem becomes bigger and bigger with the size of the city. So one idea that came up was to be able to listen to what's happening in the city and having an AI algorithm that can automatically identify when a car crash or an explosion or a gunshot occurs in any part of the city. So we built this system. We did also the hardware part. We built everything using microphones on Raspberry Pi. And that's why we call it the Raspberry project as well. And we really had to come up with the hardware and to dispatching these different systems and to make them communicate with each other. The idea being of having a sort of a detector for incidents in a large city. We also had the chance to test it on the field with real explosions. This was quite an exciting time. So it was all in all a very interesting project with very practical applications as well and implications in terms of where we could increase the reaction time and make sure that people would come and check out the incidents faster.
Yes, I remember the first time speaking to Visium team about this Raspberry project. I first Fede said, "You know this Raspberry?" I said, "I don't know this Raspberry. I know raspberries in the garden." No, he said, "It's a Raspberry sensor." I said, "Okay, it's a special AI sensor." And this is why I said, "Okay, this is interesting and this is really fascinating." And I think that the whole value of this identifying the incident or accident is to help bring ambulance, doctors, police faster to the place to help, basically to help people faster
Exactly.
identify.
And what's also very interesting is that the learnings that we got from this particular project could also be applied to a very different setting. So the same system, the same listening system, the microphones, could actually be reutilized in another project called Listen to Machines. So the idea came from operators at Nestlé who, throughout their years of experience working with production lines, start to understand what the machine sounds like when something is off, right? And they know and they surveil around. And they listen that there's something going on and therefore decide to go and have a check and repair any potential issues. So the idea of that project was to be able to automate this such that with microphones around, these operation and maintenance operations could happen much faster here again.
Okay, so what are you saying that, do you think that many ideas come out of, how can I say, maybe backup office of building systems?
So I would say that what's interesting with what we're doing at Visium is that we managed to take ideas that we developed for a specific industry and replicate them in very different setting and scenarios. So the actual algorithms and solutions we have, so this detection of anomalies in sound, could be replicated in two very different use cases. And that's one of the great things of all the projects we do. We're accumulating all this know-how and all this experience on how to leverage data that is surrounding companies and actually put it to profit.
Mm-hmm. Is there any industries in particular that can benefit more from AI solutions?
It's very hard to tell nowadays because you have plenty really of applications everywhere, and it's hard not to find an industry that cannot benefit from AI. But I would say that there are two or three particular industries that are already leveraging on this, and that can even leverage more. The first one is pharma. Pharma has seen the drug development costs increase constantly in the last few years, and it's become harder and harder to come up with new drugs. And therefore, here, leveraging on the huge data sets and the huge banks of information that they collected over the year, one can help the drug development process and the drug discovery process and come up with new drugs in a more efficient way. Another sector that is particularly affected and that can benefit a lot from AI is the energy sector and the electricity grid networks in particular. Exactly, with the advent of new renewable energy sources, the electricity generation is distributed across the whole network, and therefore one needs to optimize a bit the current infrastructure we have. And there, AI once again can help in looking at past data and try to guide better the decisions on how to structure the new networks of tomorrow. And finally, I would say that the retail industry has already put to profit some sort of artificial intelligence in the past with forecasting models for the whole supply chains. And there, this is even more critical nowadays. But there, again, machine learning models and artificial intelligence models can be used to improve the forecasting and therefore reduce unnecessary costs
Yeah,
in the retail industry.
this is true because during the lockdown, the supply chains have got disrupted completely, and I still remember March 13, the Black Friday. That's what happened in Switzerland when all the schools announced that it's the last day of school for children. So from Monday on, all the shops are closed except for grocery shops. And I remember myself on Friday in the supermarket, all the shelves with pasta. Pasta was just wiped out. There was no more macaroni on the shelves, and people also buying lots of toilet tissue. So the whole story, all the supply chains got completely disrupted. So now, how can you help? Can AI help to restore the supply chains I say, put them in the right direction?
Yes.
Because people getting back to normal, they getting back to their offices, at least here in Switzerland and in many European countries. Because again, when I think about pasta as an example, what happened, I think, is that okay, people consume, let's say, 100 units of this pasta a week. Some people go to restaurants, cafe during the week, and a certain number of units, let's say 50 units consumed through restoration and 50 units consumed at home. So
Mhm.
now in a lockdown, all the 100 units have to be consumed at home. It means that the supply must go through the through supermarkets. So it's the only place to find that food. And this is how all the products disappeared. So what do you think?
Yes, I would say that the consumption of pasta goes even to 120 in certain cases because people love to cook pasta at home. It's an
Yeah, the
easy
Italian
thing to
part.
do. Exactly. But no, actually, this was observed in Italy. All the producers of pasta said that the factory, which usually run at 75% of their production capabilities, had to be boosted up at 100% over the lockdown. So this was really something that practically occurred. As you mentioned, the consumption habits change, right? So people consume at home and they don't consume it in companies' canteens anymore. And these behaviors can be picked from a variety of different signals and data that is lying around. And this behavior is what drives the actual demand for the final product. Now that we're exiting the lockdown, that countries are exiting it, and everyone is doing it in a slightly different way, it becomes very hard for food and beverage producers to know how to dispatch their supplies, right? And how much they should produce for canteens, how much they should package for still supermarkets. And here again, what AI can do is to use the data that is being collected in certain countries where the lockdown is being released earlier on, combine this with other sources of information such as news, public declaration from authorities, social media monitoring information, and come up with a more accurate prediction of the demand for the pasta example in this case, but for the demand of all consumer goods more precisely. These consumption habits will go back to a certain level of normality, but we also have not to expect that they will go back to full normality because certain habits have constantly changed. People are now consuming online much more, even for groceries. Actually,
Mhm.
in the U.S., for instance, people usually 3 or 4% of the population was doing grocery shopping online before the lockdown. Now it's about 15%, and therefore these whole changes will impact the way that the food will need to be distributed.
Yeah,
And
and I remember when we checked online shopping, I think online business here was not prepared at all because when we were thinking, okay, let's buy milk and sugar, all these heavy items online, and the line to for delivery was like 2 weeks. It will be delivered in 2 weeks. I said, okay, I think it's probably faster to go and stay in line in the supermarket and get the groceries now today that we need for the family.
Exactly. So to sum it up, AI in this direction can help picking up these new consumption habits as soon as they appear, and therefore guides the supply chain restructuration earlier on for the companies. It's a very critical moment because a lot of things have been changed through this crisis, of course, and are still being changed. And that's why it's a great moment actually for companies to rethink a bit how they do certain things. Because, of course, whenever you introduce a new procedure, be it AI powered or not, there will be a lot of change going, and therefore it's the perfect moment to actually look more into this direction right now.
Hmm. And I think that AI is great for building systems because it can track and crack data much faster than human beings. So human being here is primarily at control or thinking, okay, that's what the behavior, and that's what we need to check and scan and build on system upon this new data, right? New behavior
Yes.
new behavior
Hmm.
of lockdown, and projecting towards a normal behavior of people when in June, when the restaurants are open, everything I would say should be open, and we go from there. But I think that it was a great lesson also for online shopping, uh, so that they can also build their system, right? Be ready
Hmm.
for any situation based on the data and based on the on tracking behavior.
Yeah, yeah, they will come out greatly strengthened of this crisis, and they will know better how to understand the behaviors of their customers for sure. In
Um,
that direction, yeah.
yeah, go ahead, please.
No, in that direction, I think that these new AI processes are ripe for certain industries in particular right now. So it's just what I wanted to add.
How can people find Visium?
So we have a website, of course. So you can go and check out a few of the information there. But the best way would be to contact any of us directly. Me, for instance, here on LinkedIn or throughout the social media that you're following this live on. But contact information can be found on the website as well.
Okay, for those who would like to request what AI can do for them, right? Thank you for sharing your insights, and there's definitely a big space, a big platform of improvement for many businesses to apply the technology. And I like it a lot. Your sensor, your Raspberry product that can be applied, I'm sure, across different areas and different industry. And of course, as you said, pharmaceutical here in Switzerland can apply very well your technology.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me. And maybe one last word. I would say that this crisis is the perfect opportunity for companies to transform some of their processes to be better prepared for what comes next.
Yeah. And by the way, I wanted to say that Dario Mitric, who is saying grandissimo Matteo here
Grazie,
in the
Dario.
conference, and Michiko, who is saying hello to you. And I see thanking for all the for organizing this broadcast. Thank you again for sharing all your insights, and I look forward to seeing more projects, more exciting projects, and that you can share with all the audience and globally, not only in Switzerland, and what he can do, what he can do for the community.
We look
Thank you.
forward to that too. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching us, listen to inside of Matteo on what AI can do to help in this very important period of transition from the COVID lockdown to our normal life and lessons we have learned during this lockdown. And stay tuned to our next episode next Wednesday. We're going to also speak about machine learning assistant, which is a trade assistant to help us in stock markets to continue making profits in this very volatile market. So stay tuned. Thank you.